It's not just a shoehorn, it's a shoehorn on a stick.
You're listening to the Mike Cara radio program, Eye on the Nation.
Well, welcome back to our next edition of the Mike Cara radio program, Eye on the Nation. We definitely have our eye on the nation, as always, proudly broadcasting from Ocoee, Florida, USA, planet Earth. And my next guest is A.T Lynne, who is an author, educator, screenwriter, and master hypnotist. And she's devoted to finding and encouraging the best qualities in people. And having invested years in the study of linguistics, she is convinced of the tremendous power of the words we speak to literally and indelibly author our lives, and she is an articulate and compassionate speaker who takes genuine delight in sharing what she knows. And today, as we've been doing several shows basically about trying to improve ourselves when it comes to, we're talking about bringing a better dish to, whether it be a church potluck, or whether it be a dinner party or 4th of July party. And like I said, there's always a standby to go to the store and get some sort of mystery meat or some sort of casserole. But I want to talk about people being able to make quick and enjoyable and fun treats, and A.T has a treat for us. And so, A.T, first of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about it and how to make it, and we'll just let you take it away then here.
Marvelous, Mike. Hello. Thank you for having me as your guest. And yes, I'm going to call my dish snowballs. Such a common thought, but snowballs, it brings to mind little round things that are white and fluffy, and that's just exactly the idea, and that's exactly the look of this dish once it's done. Now, I heard you, Mike, tell your listeners that we are looking for something to take to potlucks or church socials any time of the year. Well, I must tell you, Mike, this particular dish, these snowballs, are one of the very few foods that are season dependent in the United States. Just about anything and everything we want comes to our table anytime. Strawberries are available year-round. All those foods that years ago could only be had, apples in the wintertime, that sort of thing, they're available year-round because we do grocery gathering from all over the planet. However, there are two foods that are season dependent pretty much in the United States, and one of them is pumpkin, and the other is cranberry. Now, this dish is with cranberries, and so it is season dependent on that. At least here on the West Coast, we can only get cranberries from about mid-October until mid-January. So that's when this dish can be made, because it must be made with fresh cranberries. Got that?
Yeah.
All right. So the ingredients are so simple. The tools that you need, the items to make them are so prevalent in every home. This is one of the easiest dishes I've ever made. And as I promised you when I offered this recipe to you over the internet, it is guaranteed tasty, and it's even an addictive little appetizer, and you can make it in less than 15 minutes. And this is how. The ingredients are 1 bag of fresh cranberries, 1 box of C&H powdered sugar. Now, why I'm so specific about C&H is that C&H sugar is cane sugar. And I've tried making this with other brands of sugar which are made from beets. Beet sugar is very common here in California, for example. And yet beet sugar has a flavor that I don't find quite so tasty on my tongue. It's also the reason why Mexican Coca-Cola tastes better than American Coca-Cola. Mexican Coca-Cola is bottled in Mexico and brought all the way up here to Northern California and sells like hotcakes because it's got cane sugar in it, and American Coca-Cola has beet sugar in it. Interesting flavor test your listeners can try sometime. Because I could imagine in Florida you've got a big Latino community, and they may enjoy the difference and sell Mexican Coca-Cola there too.
Right.
So we've got 1 box of C&H powdered sugar, 1 bag of fresh cranberries, and the only other ingredient we need is 1 egg white. So you take out the egg yolk, very carefully separate out the yolk, save that for scrambled eggs the next time you make scrambled eggs or something else. You take the egg white. Now, first thing you do is you take that egg white and you just mix it with a fork so it gets that globby piece broken up. So not so it's frothy, but just so it's all broken up in kind of an even textured liquid. Then you take the bag of fresh cranberries and you put the berries in a colander. Put them under the running water in your sink, and you just toss them with your hands so they all get wet and kind of freshly washed. And you run your fingers through the cranberries, and any ones that are squishy, you take those out. You don't want squishy cranberries. You just make sure that the ones remaining are nice and firm, and then you shake the colander, shake off the water, and let that sit. You take a bowl, a flat bowl, put it under the colander so it can catch what runs off. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take that box of powdered sugar, and you're going to put approximately one-third of the powdered sugar into a 1-gallon Ziploc bag. Just shake it in. No need to measure. Just kind of guesstimate what's a third of the box. Just dump it in to that 1-gallon Ziploc bag. Now you're ready. You take the egg white and you pour it over those dampened cranberries. And again, with your fingers, you just toss the egg white as it's flowing down through the cranberries. Just toss them together, making sure you get that egg white over those berries. And the berries are still going to be a little bit damp. That's just fine. And that's what the bowl is underneath the colander for, to catch that runoff of the egg white. You might want to use it again one more time. So then you scoop about a third of the berries. Again, no measurements necessary. Just with your fingers, scoop about a third of those berries into the Ziploc bag. Then you zip that bag up tightly. You lay it flat on the counter, and you grab it by the edges, the edge closest to you, and you just move that bag. You just sort of shuttle that bag back and forth, letting it rest on the counter. Just shuttle it one way and then shuttle it the other way, and then gently turn it over and shuttle it again. And the little berries roll back and forth just as though they were crazy little creatures inside, just rolling those berries through the powder, just like a little kid would roll a snowball in the snow. Although you live in Florida now, Mike, have you ever rolled snowballs?
Yeah, I have, actually. Not in Florida, though.
Not in Florida. Where did you roll your snowballs?
I grew up in the Chicagoland area, so Chicago.
Whoa, you had plenty of snow. You probably developed quite a talent at making the perfect size snowballs for the bottom, middle, and top of snowmen, huh?
Yeah, I did.
All right. Well, that's exactly what these look like when you're done. You roll it around, and about a third of the berries with a third of the flour makes just the right coating. It might just even about double the diameter of those berries when you've rolled it all around and used up all of the sugar. And then what you do is you just open the Ziploc bag and very gently pour out those berries onto a cookie sheet. Then you just slightly shake the cookie sheet so they all separate, so they're all out by themselves, each little berry out by itself. And then you repeat that process with the rest of the sugar and the cranberries. Again, you take another approximate third, about half of what's left of the sugar, dump it into the Ziploc bag. Then you toss the berries. Now, again, here is if your air is kind of dry, or if you've been interrupted doing this is where you might want to pour the remaining egg white back over the berries again, toss them just to make sure they've got a nice coating of that egg white on them. Though you don't have a problem with dry air there in Florida, do you, Mike?
No.
That's definitely not something that I had the good fortune of being able to live in Florida for half a year on the East Coast. I was employed to help put up all those trailers that were necessary after Francis and Jean and, was it not Ivan, one of your other hurricanes that happened and hit that beautiful town of Vero Beach and really did some damage. And I got to come down and meet some of the finest people on the planet when I was there working in Florida. That was 2004, 2005. So I remember that the humidity just helped me feel so young, just kept my skin so nice and moist. So back to the recipe. Yes. So now that the cranberries are moistened again, you take about half of what's left, a third of the whole bag, about half of what's left, put it into the Ziploc bag, zip that up real tightly, lay the bag on the counter again, just shake it back and forth, flip it gently over, just roll those berries around just like rolling snowballs until they're all covered with the powdered sugar. Then you put those on the cookie sheet, and one more time, third time, the last of the cranberries and the last of the sugar into the Ziploc bag, roll them around, just get them completely coated, put them on the cookie sheet, and that is all you do, Mike. You get to make sure they're separated on the cookie sheet as much as you can, and you just leave them. You can just leave them about overnight or 6 or so hours, and maybe longer in Florida because it is a little more moist there. It takes longer for that egg white to harden completely around the cranberry, and that is it. And they are intriguing little treats to look at. Put those in a bowl. Line the bowl with a pretty red and green napkin at Christmas time, or maybe something brown and gold for Thanksgiving. Put those out, and the taste is so amazing because the first taste, of course, on your tongue is the taste of the sugar. And then biting into it, there's a sharp crack as that little thin egg white, hardened egg white coating breaks. And then you get a burst of this marvelously sharp, tart flavor of the cranberry, which, as you know, eating cranberries without sugar is really too tart for most people. But with that sugar coating there in the mouth, it makes a textural treat. It makes I call them adult sweet tarts because they such a fine combination of that sugar, that sweetness that just opens the mouth, and then that tartness, kind of almost a lemony tartness that gets the saliva going, makes you want to swallow and just really enjoy it. It's a really wake-up flavor in the mouth. Also, because of that hermetic seal that egg white makes around these cranberries, that nice, complete seal around the cranberries, that these can be left out for up to a week, just out on a decorative display on your table. Though I don't think if you've got people in the house, I doubt they'll last a week, and yet they can safely be left out for that long.
Oh, wow. So that sounds like, definitely a great recipe. And so we're saying, A.T., that it is seasonal because it does, the best way is the fresh cranberries. However, if we can get a hold of fresh cranberries at different times of the year, then we could probably make it then, obviously.
Well, obviously, yes, of course, because the eggs are always around and so is the sugar. So any time of the year is possible.
So, that's great. And did we mention how many that makes for? Or?
Well, goodness me, I would say that one bag of cranberries is good for, because it is an appetizer, so it's not huge servings. People would just be snacking on these. I'd say for a group of 10 or so, one bag would be plenty. If you're going to a big event, say a church social or something, I'd make 2 bags because for all the years I've known this, I was taught this recipe in 1992 by one of my very favorite ex-husbands who lives sort of in your part of the world now. I have found that very few people have ever seen this. It's always something new when I introduce it. And once people start eating them, they just keep eating them. They find it really a taste they want more and more of.
Oh, fantastic! So yeah, as we were mentioning that you could just double or triple. So I mean, if you're at a situation where especially a big party with 50 people, then you could just get like 5 bags then, and then it just double each ingredient. Is that it? Well, or quintuple it then if you're making for 5, 50.
Yep. And once you get that production line going, this process takes maybe 15 easy minutes. You could probably even whip all this stuff together and get it done in 10 minutes. But 15 easy minutes to do this. And so if you're going to quintuple it, just get all your cookie sheets lined up, and probably still take you no less than a half an hour to make even that many.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, that's definitely great. And, it's a easy recipe that, people could. And now, A.T., I have to ask then, is there anything, I mean, I'm sure, as we're mentioned, they're just good as there is, but I mean, in your experience of making them, have you ever added anything additional, or they're just good as is then? Any other ingredients, or?
I did once I've tried it with a couple of other kinds of fruits, for example, and yet I tried it with grapes, thinking that the cranberries would be too tart for children, and yet the grapes I found were too sweet. That, to my taste, with the sugar on the outside of grapes, that didn't work quite well enough. And then, I tried it with raspberries once, because raspberries have a tartness, and yet the skin on raspberries is too thin, and they would end up breaking and kind of coloring the sugar and impeding the complete hardening of the egg white. So I've just stuck with this simple recipe since 1992, and find that it's just a really thrilling, delightful new treat to every party I've ever taken it. The people love to guess what's in it. They really enjoy that guessing. What is that? What do you think that is? So it makes kind of a lively conversation topic. And now I'll tell you the name that I ended up giving it. Once I tell you this name, maybe you and your listeners will want to have a contest to see if they can come up with a better name. Today I was again thinking, it's snowballs. They look like little snowballs, but that's just not a very exciting name. And after I tell you this name I came up with, I'm not sure that many of your guests will want to use this one either, but it's a great, I'll say, eye-opener. And this name came out of my being a writer in Arizona with a group of women, and we called ourselves Sisters in Crime. As a matter of fact, the Sisters in Crime group is a national writing group of women associated across the country who are actually women who are involved in writing crime novels or thrillers or that genre of literature. So my branch of Sisters in Crime, my chapter in Florida, was having a Halloween party, and I decided to bring these, and I thought, goodness, snowballs, what a boring sort of name is that? So what I did was I was looking, just scanning through my brain, what would I call these? What do they look like? And Mike, I came up with the name Dead Men's Eyes. And it's so funny because, as my bio says, I'm a hypnotist. And when people say they can't be hypnotized, that they don't believe it and they can't be hypnotized, it's so funny to watch someone who reaches for this little treat and they say, what do you call those? And I say, Dead Men's Eyes, and you watch their hand just retract because the name so convinced them that there's going to be something awful, even though obviously when you look at it, obviously that's going to be a joke. But that really shows that people can be hypnotized so easily, put into a trance so easily when their imagination is stimulated by an idea. So that has been something it's been very amusing to watch how people react to the name. And yet, I imagine that most people who will make this recipe will only want to have people imagine the happy delight that they're going to experience. So I challenge your listeners to come up with a new and better name for this treat. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm sure that they can, and yeah, they could email me, and I could let you know, and and especially once they've made it, they could maybe get inspiration there. Then great.
Yes. Well, I would definitely love to hear. In fact, on my website, I will celebrate the answer that your audience chooses as the best one. If you have a way to poll them, once you get the suggestions all in, and find out what your audience believes is the very best name for this recipe, I will celebrate that on my website and rename this forever after by the name your audience comes up with. How's that? Get them to participate in making this one of the best, most surprising little dishes that they can make in a heartbeat.
Oh, fantastic. So, yeah, we definitely encourage that. And, yeah, that sounds like a great treat there, AT. And one thing we do want to also mention here, and we want to let people know, because this kind of ties, in again with, holidays and, all sorts of things going on, especially, we all know about driving. And one thing I found very exciting that, one of the things that you do is that you're an advocate and owner of Dismissed, and it's a company, and it helps people with unwanted traffic tickets. And I find that very exciting and very helpful. And can you tell us about that?
Yes, absolutely. My business is called Dismissed in the Interest of Justice. It can be, your audience can visit this at www.dismissedtickets.com. That's past tense, dismissed, tickets plural, so it's www.dismissedtickets.com. And what I do is I help drivers who have received unwarranted traffic tickets get that traffic ticket dismissed. And many people initially think they deserve the traffic ticket. Many people even say, well, I know that last month I was speeding, so sure, I probably deserve this one this time. However, that way of thinking is really not very accurate. We are often, with the pressure on police to write traffic tickets. In the state of California, for example, traffic ticket revenue is $1 billion a year. That's billion with the B, and that is a lot of money. And just like anybody who has a job, police officers are sometimes wrong. They're just plain wrong. They give the ticket to the wrong person. They're pressured to have quotas to get those tickets written, and sometimes they'll just pull a person over, believing that person's just going to say, sure, okay, I did it, whatever you say. And an amazing number of people do agree to accept a ticket without even questioning, was that really me? What about that Ferrari that just blew by me and went around that truck and got out of sight? Maybe that cop was actually clocking that guy and just needed to write a ticket, and I was the next one in his line of sight. So Florida, like California, is one of the 9 states where an option called trial by affidavit, that's what they call it in Florida. They call it trial by written declaration in California. This is a means by which you don't have to go to court. You write an appeal to the judge, what's called a statement of facts, and you simply tell the judge how, in your adult, responsible driving perception of the situation, how you were not guilty of what you've been accused of. My success rate is between 85 and 90% with my clients, helping them write a compelling statement of facts. And the way I do this, Mike, is I actually interview them. I take them into first hypnotic relaxation, because often people who get traffic tickets are so tense, their mind can only see the situation from the policeman's point of view. Now, actually, when a policeman pulls any driver over, there are 2 people involved, and they are 2 adults. One's an adult police officer doing his job, sometimes good, sometimes not so good. The other one is an adult driver who obviously, unless the ticket is for running a red light and hitting somebody in a wheelchair, the police officer actually was doing just fine at the time. One moment, I need to get into a quieter place. There we go. Yes, the police officer, or the driver, was doing just fine, probably driving, obviously, 70 to 90% okay. And that is what we speak from. I help the person relax into remembering that before they ever saw the policeman, they were obeying the law, they were driving safely, they were going with the flow of traffic. And this is the place from which we begin to compose the statement of facts. And that statement of facts is speaking to another rational person, a judge, who gets to read this affidavit in private chambers. The judge isn't having to deal with a whole room full of people who just are making a lot of noise, who are going to whine, who are not prepared. The judge is going to be reading in his chambers this clear statement of facts from the falsely accused driver about why this one ticket, is not legitimate. It's unwarranted. And those letters are very powerful to persuade a judge to look afresh at the information of the moment. And the police officer has the right to add information to the information already provided on the ticket. But the ticket information is dry and dull, whereas the information in the statement that we write is compelling. It's like writing a mini movie that plays in the mind of the judge. And that mini movie plants a vision that is so compelling, tells a story so complete, shows a driver so responsible and so worthy of having that ticket dismissed. And that's how it works, Mike.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, it seems like, you could help a lot of, people with this. And, a lot of people, we're saying, in the state of mind, a lot of people feel that they just, have to accept the ticket. So it's great that you're letting people know, what their options are then.
Absolutely. And I would imagine that in Florida, my guess is that in Florida drivers know about this as rarely as California drivers. I tell California drivers that there's a third option, and they don't even know that exists. They believe your only choice is to pay it or go to court, and court is such an unpleasant experience for anyone who's not a judge or an attorney that people would just rather avoid that, and they pay to avoid that, not knowing that they have this legal right to simply write a statement. They never have to go through the inconvenience, the hassle, the awkwardness, the very uncomfortable experience of going to court. That's simply not required, writing to the judge the statement of facts. So educating your audience about this alone is a pleasure. I hope many of them listen and realize, with or without my help, this is a legal choice that they have when they get a ticket.
Oh, okay, A.T. And we want to let everyone know that you have a website for this dismissed tickets, and if people want even more information, I'm sure that's chock full of all sorts of information then.
Yes, indeed. And again, the website is www.dismissedtickets.com, and my company is called Dismissed in the Interest of Justice, and I do offer a free consultation. Anyone who calls will get a free consultation.
Oh, and these consultations is for anyone or any particular area in the country, or?
They're for anyone.
Oh.
As I say, there are 9 states where the trial by written declaration, the trial by affidavit, is a legal option, and Florida is one of those states. The other 9 are, oh goodness me, Wyoming, Ohio, Nebraska. Whoops, I didn't have that list right at hand, Mike, so I don't have that right on the tip of my tongue. But Florida is definitely one of those states where this is one of your legal options, and I would be happy to discuss traffic tickets with anyone in any part of the country, simply to get them into a state of mind where if they choose to go to court, they will be in a confident, calm, self-assured state of mind rather than that state of shame and guilt that so burdens people when they get tickets.
Okay, A.T., I want to thank you so much for your time, and I want to let our audience know that if A.T. would like to come back, she's more than welcome to come back, because I know there's looks like a lot more that you do, but if people would like to find out more about you, I understand now that you have a A.T Lynne website too.
I do indeed. They can find me at www.atlynne, that's ATLYNNE.com.
Awesome.
And they are very welcome to visit me there and see what other things I'm up to. And again, I'd be happy to provide a free consultation on those traffic ticket issues.
Okay, AT, I want to thank you so much for your time. And so, any final thoughts about this particular treat or traffic tickets or anything else?
Oh, goodness me. I just am filled with the memories of what a lovely state you're in, and we're going into that era, that period of the year when people are going to be enjoying Florida in all its glory in this wonderful winter weather when it's one of the finest places on the planet to be. I just wish you all an absolutely fantastic day.
Okay, thank you very much. My guest has been A.T Lynne, and you've been listening to the My Care radio program, Eye on the Nation, and please catch us again next time.